Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets, interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello. Welcome to the party, pal. Welcome to Decorating Pages. I am your host, Kim Waddup. Do you know what movie that's from? Welcome to the party, pal. I like the discussion that it's a Christmas movie. As if killing people just because it lands on, was it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, then it becomes a holiday film. I kind of think it is, though, because I feel like they've started to push it during the holidays, and now I think of it as one. So, if you haven't guessed it, tune out. No, I'm kidding. It's Die Hard. Come on. It's Die Hard. Welcome to the party, pal. Remember, he shoves the guy through the window. Yeah. Awesome. How are you? Guess what? I'm sick again because I have kids, and now I'm sick all the time. Probably going to be sick the next 10 years. Awesome. I wanted to let everybody know that the SDSA awards are coming up. Oh, yeah. The eligibility lists were just released if you had submitted or were looking to get in on it. And the last day for errors and omissions is the 24th of May. And then nominations begin June 1st and close on the 7th, with nominations being announced on June 10th. And then final voting, and then the awards are August 5th. They will be handed out. So good luck to everybody there. It's the 4th annual SDSA Awards. I was a part of that committee, and I'm still lingering. It's a wonderful thing that the SDSA has finally gotten this off the ground to acknowledge set decorators, by set decorators. I just am in full support of all of this. So please check it out if you can. Again, the nominations will be announced on June 10th. So good luck, everyone. What do I want to talk about? I talk about all the films and TV that I watch all the time. And I actually watched something I worked on this week, a film called Wonderland, which I haven't seen it in so long. And it just flooded me with memories of working on this film. So I thought I'd talk about that for a minute. I thought I'd talk about that experience because it came out in 2003. So I feel like I can give you some dirt on it now and not get in trouble, right? I was a PA, an art department PA on the film. I was hired by Franco Carbone, the production designer, and John Zachary, the art director, who, if you have not worked with John Zachary in this lifetime, you got to do it because he's one of the sweetest, most talented men ever. And I had worked with the two of them previously on a film which was called Pretty When You Cry, and then they changed it to Season's Greetings, which is a horrible name for the film. It was kind of like softcore. So if you didn't see it, you don't need to see that movie. But it was Sam Elliott, and I forget the guy. But so I had worked with them on that, and this project came up and they were looking for a PA, and luckily I was available. I was so available at the time. I needed a job so bad. And thankfully they hired me. We were a very small art department. There must have been a coordinator. I forgot to look that. I don't know who it was. It might have been just the four. I don't know. There definitely was a coordinator. I should look that up. But then the set deck department was super small, and it was one of those things where all of the departments are so small that you get interaction with other departments really easily. I just remember all the time the director, James Cox, coming in to talk to Franco all the time, and him being super approachable and very nice. And so yeah. So just if you haven't seen the film, I think it's a pretty good film myself. I like it. It's about John Holmes, who was a part of the Wonderland murders in 1981 or 82. And he went to trial for it and he was a part of it. And it's a kind of like he said type of story of who do you believe, what really happened that night. And 4 people were killed. And it's a horrible story, true story of the Wonderland murders up in Laurel Canyon. And the location that we shot at wasn't the exact house. It was like 3 or 4 houses down from the real place. So that was super creepy going to that set. And as the PA, you do many tasks, right? So let me just tell you a couple of my tasks on this film. And I am not bitching about it at all. This is what you do. This is how you learn. One of the cool things was Franco had an idea for a mirror, a specific mirror that he wanted over the bed. And he gave me a picture of it and said, like, we can make this. And so it was just these very thin slats of glass, like piled on top of each other. And it's in the bedroom of the hotel room that they stay in. And I took that mirror since 2003. I've had that mirror and I only just got rid of it in the last couple months because it was kind of falling apart. But I was so proud of that mirror and then it being a part of the film. So that was awesome. Another thing was they had to custom make this bed for this drug dealer where they find a safe under the bed. And the bed went into this location and fit into this nook. And so they wanted it all upholstered in, like, I think it was velvet or something, red velvet. And I don't even know who he had for construction, or maybe he didn't even have construction. And maybe that's why it was kind of like, can you help find someone? And at this time, I wasn't a decorator yet. I was still a PA. I didn't even know what I wanted to be yet. And I went and found this car upholsterer, like down like in Adams District or somewhere funky. But I gave pictures and drawings to this guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I can do it." And I'm pretty sure that's how that set was helped made. I'm pretty sure. You get fuzzy. But those are the type of things, like, you have to be resourceful. You have to go out and find things or resource things as a PA and, do other things like make copies, which there's a scene in the film where the policemen are looking at crime scene photos. And all of a sudden, it brought so many memories back to me because we had the real crime scene photos. And they asked me to go to FedEx and make copies of these photos. And I was on the on at FedEx on, what is that, Vine near Sunset? Um Over, like now it's like the arc light over there, or the behind the arc light where the McDonald's, it's like across from the McDonald's. I don't even know if the FedEx is still there. But I remember taking these photos into a FedEx and like looking around like, oh my God, if somebody sees me with all these bloody photos, like, this is crazy. And they were traumatic to look at. And a weird thing is that you kind of had to study them. And I mean, I wasn't in set deck either, but they were looking at what were the walls and the wallpaper and everything. And I swear to you that they were so gruesome that after weeks went by, we thought that we were looking at a woman dead on the bed, and it was a guy. Like, it took us weeks, or at least it took me weeks, to figure out who that person was on the bed. Oh, it was awful. It was really awful. And I wish that I didn't have those pictures in my head. So, yeah. This crime was actually the first time that videotape was used in a crime scene. So the police went through with like a video camera and videotaped the crime scene, and we had footage of that too. The other thing is, they used that crime scene film. They used all the real stuff in the movies, which I don't think you could do that now. I think you'd have to recreate it. and use those photos, right? I don't know. Crime scene photos is kind of, that's touchy. So there's a PA story for you. um, I also, you go out, you do runs. Um, we were shooting over at Occidental, I think it was, which is off of Beverly and like Temple, like over down there, like by Alvarado-ish, these little tiny stages. And the the um the dressing rooms, the trailers were in this really tiny parking lot. And I remember I don't know, I was on a hot run doing something. And I like zoomed up the stage, like dropped something off, and I went to back out of this tiny little parking lot and I hit Val Kilmer's trailer. like I it shook. And thank God that guy was not in the trailer because he was already completely on edge during this whole film. He he was very nice. Like you would see him and he was always smiling, kind of like chewing gum or something. Like that's kind of what I remember. But then we heard a story that he sent his assistant out to get beverages for his trailer. And I think it was a chick. And she came back with a bunch. And then she came back with some Diet Coke. And he got super pissed and was like, "What am I, fat?" And he like threw it at her. I'm not, I swear, I don't think I'm making this up. I really think that that happened. I remember the story. And then I absolutely remember that to air quotes get into character, he trashed his trailer like with like fake blood or whatever, like because there's a scene where it's a scenario that he was a part of these murders, which apparently I think he was, but um yeah, totally trashed the trailer. So that was cool. I didn't have to clean that up though as a PA. I didn't have to do that. I don't know which PA had to do it, but somebody had to do it. And speaking of doing it, I had to go. I don't know why. I think that they bought sheets and then wanted to return them, and or they were rental sheets. Like I don't know why I had to do this, but the crime scene is people being bludgeoned to death in bed. Okay? And I got sent to the laundromat on, I think it's Sunset. It was like a laundromat slash Starbucks at the time. It was like, what a genius idea. Right near Alvarado and Sunset. And they sent me with all of these bloody sheets to get washed. And I seriously, like, was trying to hide that they had tons of blood on them. And I don't even think the blood came out. I think I bleached him and everything. I think I was there a long time. That was like half of my day at least, like doing this huge loads of laundry of like white sheets with blood stains on them. But that's I did that as a PA. I can say I did that. Um what else? This is so much fun. I feel like I'm cleansing. Um I don't know. I mean, I know that I had a really great time working on that film and was just so into it and so proud to be a part of like a film, and uh it was awesome. I mean, and there were so many stars in it. There's Ted Levine is in it, who is Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. And one day at lunch, there was a bunch of people at a table and they asked him to say place the lotion in the basket, and he did it. It was, I believe he did it. I believe that's the story. Oh, things get figgy, but why would I make that up? So I think he did his famous line for everyone, which was like super cool. I remember him sitting with the crew at lunch all the time, like a lot of the actors did. Um, I think Val went in his trailer though, but yeah, and I think it's like Paris Hilton's first movie. She has a tiny clip in there. Um, I don't know. I had a great time on the film. It probably shot for like 3, 4 weeks. It was super fast. Set decorator Jason Howard did a fantastic job, and I've spoken to him about it through, like, I think the last time I saw him, I was like, "Hey, I actually was on Wonderland." He's like, "What?" But yeah, and Franco has gone on to do like a million like Sylvester Stallone movies and like huge things. And John Zachary again is like an amazing production designer at this point. I think he's on Grey's Anatomy now. He's all over the place. He's great. Please, if you get a chance, work with that man. He's amazing. Um, but yeah, I had a huge crush on Josh Lucas at the time. Huge crush. So it was like I was just in awe to see him. And yeah, I don't know. That's about it. That's what One Up watched this week. So I thought I'd take you down memory lane on that. Yeah. Um so we again are in our little Emmy preview and FYC, and it's getting busy. We got a lot going on. We already had a full month last week with Glenda Ravallo of Frasier, Michael Nolan of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Gina Alessi of Manhunt, Helen Jarvis for Shogun. Um, I can't. I so many. We did a bunch of film studies. James Philpott for Death and Other Details. Yeah, Mark Ricker and Cherish Hale for Capote. And so coming up today, we have Simon Elliott, the production designer for All the Things We Cannot See. Next week, we have Michael Wiley, who it was fantastic to connect with him because I'm such a fan. He did Avatar: The Last Airbender. David Grotman, my all-time probably favorite guest before, for Ripley. Kim Leonard, set decorator for Griselda. Kirsten Mann, the costume designer on Loot, and then I still have one or two pending, so you might even get more. So I got a lot. I got a lot going on. I'm trying to get everything out before the 13th, for before Emmy voting begins. I don't know. We might have to extend, people. We might have to. There's a lot. There's so much good things out there. So many good things. It's fantastic. So let's talk about today. Today, on this episode, I speak with production designer Simon Elliott, the brilliant production designer who his latest project is a limited series adaptation of the Pulitzer Prize winning book All the Light We Cannot See on Netflix. Simon shares the fascinating details behind the recreating of World War II France and the use of real materials to authenticate the sets of this captivating story and bring in real wood, bring in real stone, using real materials to make these sets come to life. We'll also just discuss the intricate city-scaled model that they created for the film, working in underwater sets. And all of this, the actress for this limited series was really blind, and the young actress who played it was really blind. So we talk a lot about making the set safe when you have those elements and making it comfortable for people. And we also talk about a stunning French palette that he has and a beautiful staircase I loved. So I hope you enjoy. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Are you East Coast, West Coast?
No, I'm London.
Oh, you're London. Oh man, what time is it?
Yeah, I'm London. It is 5 o'clock in the evening here.
Well, it's happy hour. Then we're good, right?
Exactly.
Well, I'm so glad that you could do this, and
It's my pleasure.
I promise all I'm going to do is praise your work because it's
That's very kind of you.
what a beautiful, beautiful project you have there, and just so impactful. That's all I can say about the whole series. It's just so impactful, and I don't know how many times I cried during it, but I loved it. It's so heartwarming, and your designs in there are just gorgeous. So
Well, it's one of those, when you're kind of working your career, occasionally you get those beautiful scripts that come along,
mhm.
and you just go, "Oh, this is going to be an absolute joy and pleasure
Yeah.
to design." Um,
How did you get involved with the project?
So I was very lucky. I was on a list of designers that were put in front of Sean Levy, the director. And He checked me out, saw some of my work. He had a friend of his who had worked with me, and so there was enough there for him to then have a meeting with me. So I
I
was
mean,
very lucky.
I wonder why you don't really have a great resume. Let's put it out there. I don't, you don't, I mean, it's tremendous, really. It's like, yeah.
Thank you. I think for Sean, because Sean is such a stellar director and works with, at a level, and I think there was there and predominantly works in the US. And I think there was an unknown quantity to me. And like any good director, he did his due diligence. And then was kind enough to invite me in for a meeting. And normally when I go to a meeting, I do a designer's lookbook.
Yeah.
And it is a feel and a flavor. Some of it's specific to the script, some of it is mood, atmosphere, just and my emotional response, really. And in this particular occasion, Sean just went, that's the show.
Yeah.
Uh, don't change anything. I want everything in your lookbook, and I want it translated onto screen.
Oh,
And that was how I got the job.
oh,
So
fantastic. Well,
yeah,
that having that connection right off the bat must have been sort of a relief too, because
was
I'm
yes.
assuming this was a long process. I mean, in prep and
Yeah,
yeah.
it was well. Um, For me, it was probably only about 4 months
Mm,
prep
yeah.
from having some initial conversations, and then had flying out to Hungary. And then, yeah, it was probably about 4 months before principal photography.
Yeah.
So actually, that's quite a lengthy time. But
Not really.
to, yes, to do the amount that we had to do, yeah, it was quite a challenge.
How was locate? I mean, you have so many locations in this and integrated with your builds,
Yeah.
but how was location scouting? Was that I don't
Um,
I
that
it's
was
hard.
that, I mean, that was good fun. I mean, originally uh, there was an intention to go to a different country, and after much discussion, it was like, actually, I think Budapest will offer us much more, particularly because we needed Paris. And Budapest is a good substitute for Paris. And there are kind of sections of untouched Budapest, which are very easy to uh, recreate historical kind
Mhm.
of periods in time. Whereas trying to shoot in modern day Paris would have just been
Right.
just logistically kind of just too much of a mountain to climb. So that was a good, and the studio system is great, and they're great technicians in Budapest. So yeah, it proved to be a good fit.
Yeah, there's a couple I think Wednesday was there and
Yeah.
I've heard of many others in the past
Well,
going over.
Denis Villeneuve loves Budapest. So he shot both Doom movies there,
Oh, wow.
all the studio stuff. In fact, we were tail end as they were coming in for Dune 2, we were leaving. So
If you
because
needed some sand, I'm sure they should have
yeah,
they
yeah.
could have thrown some over to you.
So, but we probably built more sets than I think some people have realized.
I know, I want to get
Uh,
into that because I think you
yeah,
did an awful lot of builds and
yes,
I think they're built so well that you might not know
thank
that you might think that they're locations, which is good. I mean, you're
you. Yeah,
tricking.
no, I
I mean,
that
I
that's our
love
intent.
I love being surprised. And I'm a decorator and I'm still like, that was the location, right? Like, yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully I can surprise you.
Yeah. Let's just look at this kitchen here, which I love
Yes,
adore. I mean,
thank
it
you.
is so heartwarming and I mean the thing to me is that there's this big long like farm table like you knew like this was such a gathering place for a family
Yes.
and you can sort of imagine how it used to be before the war. Um, and you had two decorators or one? You had two?
Well, that's a complicated story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So we had, I started with one who, for personal reasons, exited quite soon in the process.
Mhm. And then you
And
let her
then,
go.
and then I, I'm quite, you get two schools of designers, production designers, those who are sort of very intensely involved in set decorating and they feel that that's part of the whole world, and those who are really comfortable just focusing on architecture and locations. And I'm one of those designers who very much is all over set decorating.
Mm,
So with that in mind, we were coming up to some big sets. So I kind of took on the mantle of sort of principal set decorator. Uh, and then I had amazing support from Zsuzsa, who is the Hungarian set
mhm.
decorator. So it was really a double act of myself, Zsuzsa, and her team. And I had a UK assistant as well,
Nice.
that were the principal set decorators, really.
But I mean, we all work together. I mean, it's I
Yeah.
can't I don't know how much time I spend more time with the production designers than I do my husband. I know that. So
Great. Yeah.
you're a
Very
forced
intense
family.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, so
no.
that's how it ended up being managed, really. But this was our principal set build.
Mm,
Um,
the house.
this this house, yeah. And it was two builds with a staircase. So it was split. We had the attic and bedrooms on one layered set, and then this kitchen was part of the full staircase and the parlor.
Mm. I too want to talk about the palette that you have
Yeah.
and wondering if that is, I mean, it's period and it's you have the French colors in there and everything like that. But is it more influenced by the story or because she's blind? Like, were these things that came into play?
So with me, color is sort of instinctive. When I read a script, I see colors.
Hmm.
That sounds very abstract,
Well,
but
yeah.
it's a gut response to a script usually. And then through the process of creating the lookbook for the director, and when I'm sort of pulling images and putting them together, and then once I start printing them out and putting them up so you can see everything together, palette kind of emerges. So it's an instinctive thing. And so these sort of muted blues and the pinks and the yellows, they all came out of my initial response and the images that I was responding to. I mean, this blue is particularly French.
Hmm.
And Sean was very passionate about this color. And then this kind of French gray, which is quite a traditional color for
Phil.
sort of provincial homes. So it was there in a lot of reference. And then you turn it up and turn it down when you want to and play with it. So it's there's an instinctive level to it, but also there's a research element to it as well.
Right. I saw one video of the actors walking in the set and talking
Mhm.
about the flooring and the
Yes.
unevenness of the tiles and how authentic all the sets were. So bravo for that. The actors are still talking about it.
That's lovely. I love bringing real elements into a set, whether that's found objects, architectural salvage, real tiles, wherever you can, that they bring a quality to a set, particularly a set that you're going to be in for such a long time. And we were in there, and you know that it gives a layer of authenticity for the actors, for lighting, the way light bounces off real objects. You can have the most skilled painters,
Yeah.
but somehow, sometimes that real patina of authentic items just it transcends and then moves a set into a different place, and that's sometimes helps blur the line for an audience being able to know it's real or not, whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, so these were real tiles. There's a lot of real timber in this set. Um, yeah, and so spliced together with obviously beautiful construction work and even better scenic painting.
Yeah, I mean, and that fireplace is so amazing and so
Yeah,
authentic to like, well, this is what they did. They had this is where they cooked, this is what it
yeah,
was. And it's but it's
yeah.
so it's not even overpowering the room. It's just another character in there. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and that was lifted from a reference photo. You know, when I found it, I was like, that's got to go
Oh,
into the
beautiful.
kitchen.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And also captivating that this house has had a life before this family. So you find in and still today in provincial French homes that you might have the original fireplace. Then you have the modern stove and the new way of cooking.
Right.
But particularly in this period and in rural homes, quite often you might find that, you know, the matriarch of the family is cooking, still cooking on the old traditional ways on an open
Yeah.
fire, and some traditional French dishes are still cooked like that. And then also they have modern appliances, and in this particular period, the family have a gas
Yeah.
stove as well.
Was there anything particular in the design of like the flow of these rooms that you broke away from a traditional thing, not just for camera, but for the actors?
Yes, I mean,
Be-
uh, there's a slight exaggeration of scale. That's to make it comfortable
Mhm.
for everyone to work in. So there's that. And probably just the orientation of rooms and staircases so that you can flow from staircase to room, and camera can be in a position where you get depth. I love depth. So there's
Yeah,
probably artificial depth to the arrangement of rooms, so that camera can be in the kitchen and look through and the hall and catch the bottom of the stairs and the front door. Whereas a lot of the way those houses are built is actually, you know, it's room and then room and then room and then room. And you don't really see the
right.
connectivity. There's a more practical, so there's a much more artistic uh, approach to how you arrange the rooms in order to get and invite beautiful shots from the camera team.
There's also this I know it's almost props, but I know that you
Yeah,
were I know you had to be involved in this.
yeah,
And it's such a story point. It's
yeah,
I mean, it's that's this is
yeah.
it, the kind of not to give anything away, but there's something very
Right.
valuable in here. But
Yes,
um now this also included some stunts with it. I
yeah,
mean, at the
yeah. It
end and
did.
everything. I mean,
Yes,
there's a lot of intricacy in this model that I'm sure was discussed in many meetings.
it was.
Yes.
The first debate was the scale of it, how to get the right scale so that it had a presence, but also was practical in that you could use it. So there was many a debate about that, and I think the first thing we did, we plotted a layout and in various scales, and then that was put on a table in the art department, and then, you know, somebody made little kind of cardboard houses, and we played with scale,
I love models.
and then um, working out that it had to be beautiful to look at, but also it had to be believable that it was fit for purpose, and the fact that uh, we could, you know, believe that she was mapping out her journeys through. And then we explored various different ways of making it. We were 3D printing at one point,
Mhm.
and that wasn't quite working. And then it was being carved out of polystyrene at one point, and that wasn't working. And in the end, it was handmade,
Wow.
and it's made out of wood. And several model makers spent a good amount of time uh, building this beautiful, yeah, beautiful thing that you
I
see.
hope someone took that home.
I think it's sitting in a crate in LA somewhere.
I think, oh, it's
But then
like,
it was also important to explore how would it be made, what it be made of. So, which is why when you see detail, the idea was it was everything that could be uh, that her father could lay his hands on. So it's the idea is it's made from vegetable crates and wine boxes and wine crates, and that's why there's the beautiful graphics all
yeah,
over
the
it.
writing you can see
Yes,
here.
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, the
yeah,
detail and
and
the age on it. I mean, aging things like this is really important too, because it's not those crates weren't new. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like it's so well done.
yeah. No, I mean, it was nerve wracking, and there was as you say, there was a lot of meetings, and then I think the day I was supposed to present it, um, I think we got they were running with it. It was put beside the stage where they were shooting, and I was very tense, and because everyone was coming to look at it, and then I think they overran on something, so that then it wasn't my meeting was cancelled, and then actually I think in the end it happened really spontaneously without the pressure, and it was all fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's sometimes the best way. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, let's just instead of just talk about it, let's just come over to my office and we'll chat. Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't need everyone there. Um, the other thing that strikes me in this, and this is a video that the actors are doing, but this is
yeah,
the scene. The this wallpaper and these textures that you've given to this room.
it's
This like,
silk on the walls.
oh, it's so gorgeous. It's so
It's
gorgeous.
yeah, I mean it was obscenely expensive, that silk.
Whatever. It looks
Yeah,
great.
I thought absolutely worth it.
Oh yeah.
It's very common for French homes to put fabric on the walls, and that lasts for a good couple of centuries, and went right through, and you still find old homes which have fabric on the walls. So and that was instinctive, and then yeah, and then just getting the warmth and that beautiful sort of pink
Yeah.
color.
The
Um, it was a French fabric house that I went to, and just yeah, it's kind of one
oh,
of those things. I'm sure you have it as a decorator. You see something and you just go, "That's it.
that's
That
it.
there it is.
And then
That's it."
you build around it. Like you're like, I have to
Yes,
do this, and then I'll
yes,
make cuts wherever I need to, but
yeah.
this is what this needs to happen.
And then I I'd chosen the fabric, and then the two chairs that you see behind Mark, that was part of a salon suite that we found on French eBay.
Oh,
Uh, that was then, when I saw it, it was like perfect color.
oh,
Uh, so that was a serendipity that we did that. There's so much um, furniture from eBay on the
yeah.
set,
Yeah.
extraordinary amount. We went shopping with French eBay, and because we had a French side to the production, I was collating things and putting them into a warehouse, and then we had a big truck
Brilliant.
that drove to Hungary with all these beautiful, exquisite French pieces of furniture that were authentic and also specific to the area that we were supposed to be in. So there's some bigger bits of furniture, heavily carved, that are specific to that part of France.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's amazing. I mean, I use eBay and Craigslist and
Yes.
like First Dibs and Cherish never quite seem to work out for me, like shipping wise and
Um,
price wise, but I love
yeah.
looking on there. But
No, yeah, we all get lots of looking, and
yeah.
then they come back to reality
And I'm
and
like,
go, okay.
there's got to
And
be
then
a knockoff somewhere on eBay or like,
exactly. And then I think sometimes I kind of, you go home and I get like, the kids go to bed and I'm
yeah,
sat there kind of lost,
yeah,
searching, endlessly doing search engines on eBay or
yeah,
Craigslist. And then I arrive in the office with a big pile of printouts going, yeah, I've just found all of those. I think
yeah.
that'll, you know,
We'll make it work.
yeah,
Um, I believe you did a Q&A in Los Angeles in December or
yeah,
something, and I had missed it, and my friend went to it, but she heard you talk about the attic, and I believe that you had taken wood from
We
a,
bought a bar.
yeah, you bought a barn and used all that repurposed wood. How
Yeah,
genius, how
yeah.
wonderful to make that live
Um,
again.
Again, it's actually remarkably reasonable to buy things like that. I'd actually
Mm,
done it before on another production in the UK, uh, and it had shocked me how cost effective it was. So by doing it, you gain all that beautiful timber, and
yeah.
it is just, I mean, irreplaceable. To try and create it with the most skilled plasterers and painters, it's just something very special about it. So I was very lucky. Our construction manager, um, when I had waxed lyrical about my love for authenticity and real things, uh, after he'd showed me a a molded foam beam and a plaster beam, and I'd gone, yeah, they're lovely. But
Yeah.
anyone ever talk about real stuff here? And to his credit, he went on the quest, and so we ended up with this amazing timber. And what was particularly special was when Aria first stepped onto the set, she could smell it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so that was a very moving moment because it was an extraordinary experience working with somebody who experiences the world in a very different way. And, you know, my whole career is based on my sight. Um,
Yeah.
and it was very humbling um, to be to be taken on a journey where I was kind of educated and learned to experience the world in a slightly different way. I mean, a very different way, and even from explaining sets in a way that was non-sighted.
Mm,
So all the things we take for granted.
that
So
sounds
it came about smell, texture,
right.
um, sound, the how the sound vibrates around a room. Yeah, that's when the floor texture came into play. That's when the sound the floor made when Aria walked on it. All of those things um, took on a new importance, which was, you know, it was an extraordinary journey to go on as a designer.
That strikes me so much because we are so visual, and you
Yes.
do feel textures and you do all
Yep.
this. But even in this shot, I think to myself, my God, she doesn't even know like a camera could be like 5 feet from her face. You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
intrusive filmmaking,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's not this. Do you know what I mean? This is your set. This is
Yeah.
everything. It was just gorgeous. But when all the lights and the bounce come in and everything, it makes such a different feeling. I can't
Yeah.
imagine the feeling for her of like trying to suss out the space that you've
Yes.
created so wonderfully, but then having like a dolly
So
track. You know what I mean?
Aria,
Like it's a
Aria
bummer.
Aria was remarkable. So she obviously she spent time on the sets when no one was there,
Mm,
or either myself or Sean was there, and she would negotiate and familiarize herself and commit it to her mind memory, and then it was no longer an issue. So it was that was extraordinary. Obviously, on the day to day,
yeah.
when everything's getting pulled apart, things change. But watching Aria commit spaces to her memory was, yeah, it was another one of those kind of very kind of special moments when kind of I was learning to experience everything a bit differently.
I did not read the book. I know, bad,
Yep.
bad girl. But
It's okay.
is the design of this so specific in the book also, as this is of the worn down and the like the ships and everything. Is this
No,
something
no,
taken? That's you. Yeah.
no, yeah, that was, yeah, it was trying to capture the idea of a man who had once been, had the freedom and had experienced the world, and then through the trauma of war was then this space was his world. And he was so learned, and his voice was traveling the globe. So it was how we brought those elements of the world into, in a sort of slightly exaggerated, but also a sort of a real way, that these dioramas of ships, and that actually they exist, but having them in that quantity, and just bringing the world into this space so that we could have a landscape that would kind of give the audience something every time we're in there, because we're in there so
Yeah.
much. And then that it was his domain, and at the same time it was the attic of the house, so there was the history of the house was in the attic as well. And then he'd made the space in the middle for him, and that was clean, but everything else as you went out was more dusty. um his sister doesn't really come in. She dusts a little
Yeah.
bit, but doesn't really come in. It was really his domain. So that's where it came out from.
There's so much character in it. There's like every little nook and cranny is so much character, and so much of the structure is the character. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful. It's so
yeah.
beautiful. Um,
No, it was a lot of fun to create.
and then
So
I
there you
love,
go.
God, I love a model. I love models. I love models. I love a foam core model. I,
That, I mean, what that shows you is obviously the structure, but what that doesn't show you is that that attic was 3 stories in the air,
ugh,
2.5 stories in the air. So we had the staircase going up to it, the landing, and then the half landing and the bedroom. So it was actually very, very high.
oh wow.
Um, and it was something, I was so fixated on having a staircase
I
in the
think
house.
I
There
think
was
I
a
have
there's
that. Wait, this.
yes,
Yeah, oh
yeah.
my God,
So
it's so
there's
gorgeous.
there's a brief description. There's several descriptions in the book of the house that are quite throwaway. One was that the house was like uh, a spiral shell stood on its end.
Mm,
And I read that, and then I knew the script, and I thought, this is what I've got. This staircase is so vital to the atmosphere of this house, the comings, the goings, and particularly the scene at the end where we have all the menace and the threat.
yeah.
And it was something, thankfully, Sean got behind. Uh, and we did a foam model, and then we did a digital model to show how the camera could use that space and develop into a whole heap of a different way of shooting all these scenes.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was very exciting.
Like this, like I feel as a viewer, you look at this, and maybe if you're thinking about it, you're like, well, look at the location they found here. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, but
yeah,
this being a
yeah.
build is so
So,
spectacular. It's, I mean,
so going back to your point about kind of changing things slightly. So this staircase is exaggerated, um, in so much as the well in the middle. That's quite rare in houses of this type. Normally, it's a very small, you know,
right.
gap down the middle. But obviously, we opened it up, we stretched and broadened
Oh, it's
the
beautiful.
staircase in order to get that amazing shot. Um,
There's so many stairs lately. Like I watched like Ripley and like this and like
yes, but those are beautiful, real kind of. They pick the best
yeah,
locations all over
yeah.
Italy. I mean, stunning.
I know. I recently just watched this Orson Welles film, and there's a staircase in that, and just the
Yeah,
shots and the and with this, you know, with the window right there and getting the shadows and everything and making it
yeah,
menacing, or like it's it's such a wonderful tool, staircases as a plot point too, because like the fear of
yeah.
that you're falling down, you're running up, anything.
Yep. Yeah.
It's such a great little
Yeah.
tool, I
No,
think, when
it
directors
is.
shoot it correctly. Yes.
And and then I think also when you I mean, I love burying myself in research, and then when you're looking at old photos and you're looking, at old kind of architectural drawings and things like that, and then you find the whimsy that you never thought existed. So things like this window with the stairs kind of cross in front.
Yeah.
Now, if I hadn't seen that in a reference, I would never have thought to do it, because I would have then done what I would have expected, that the window was more balanced in the wall,
Right.
but because I saw a beautiful old photo, I thought that's perfect. That's how I liked the treads
Yeah.
above, below, and then adds to the quirkiness of the the house,
Yeah.
that it is this strange, rambling sort of character of its own, and then playing with wallpapers, which I love. So yeah,
And it shows off that gorgeous wood floor too. I mean, it
yes,
really
yeah,
captures that too.
yeah,
Did I skip something? Oh, the blowing up of the room, which
yeah.
it's but so sad. So sad. But
That
I'll,
was part of Sean, early on when we were talking about the poetry of the piece. The book is very poetic, and that Sean was very keen to capture that there was a lyricism and a poetry to the piece, and that in a way, the destruction of that beauty made it, you feel it, and that visual sense, you made it feel it viscerally. So not only is the tragedy of the characters, but also there is this other layer of this poetic beauty being destroyed as well.
yeah, and her whole world. I mean, that's her whole
Yeah,
world there. It's you
yeah.
just feel so bad that it's all happening to her. And it's just
Yes,
guys running after her. It's sad. This I loved. I actually I have little boys, and I believe when I went back to watch this, I was skimming, and I was like, look at the dinosaur, look at the bones, and like look at this. Like this is a location that you built all this in, and then the
yeah. So
jewelry room,
this
and
is this is a library
mm,
in Budapest,
mm.
uh, who couldn't have been more helpful,
Oh,
and
good for them.
we built the museum inside. So I think you can't quite see it from this photo, but you'll see all around
Yeah.
the bottom layer, you can just see all the cabinets and the walls,
Oh,
with
right.
all the various bones and things. Well, they were all bookcases, and the library beautifully removed all the books, thousands of books for us. And then we put the cabinet fronts on the bookcases and then filled them with various bones and fossils. And then I was lucky enough to find all those period museum cabinets.
Mm,
There was happened to be a supplier in the UK, who had salvaged them from a museum. And so we snapped them up and we shipped them over to Hungary. And
that
then a beautiful sculpting job on the Triceratops and the T-Rex.
yeah. I mean, these are huge
Yes.
dresses of transforming a beautiful shell, a beautiful
Yeah. I
booty.
mean, all
But
credit to my team, because we had such time. The nature of these beautiful locations
yeah,
is they have a lot of restrictions. The financial cost of booking something and closing something. So the team were amazing in doing quite extensive dresses in very limited timeframes.
yeah,
Uh,
it gets
yeah.
tight.
So
I love when they keep the business open and you're making it into something
yeah,
else and the customers are
I-
walking by like, what's going down this aisle? Like what is
yeah, that happened. That happened on the street. There's actually a whole sequence that didn't make it into the show, where we turned a street. We had a nighttime scene, but we turned it into an area of Paris called Pigalle, which is all nightclubs and restaurants.
Mhm.
That we just, it was like we were the entertainment. So we had crowds watching us
Yeah,
working. Yeah, yeah.
it's
We were
always fun.
walking. down the middle of the set with the cameras, just kind of as if they were at a amusement park.
Yeah, or trying to get in. Or like when you're
Yes.
dressing something, people try to get in, or they're like, "Look at these dinosaurs!" Like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's always great when the location's open to the public. But
Yeah.
now I'm assuming this was all a build-ish or add-on. This was all a build, right?
That was all a build.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's huge. It's a tank. Were you in a tank? How did you do
Yeah.
this?
We were in a tank,
Wow.
a small exterior tank. In fact, actually, there are pictures of how big we ended up.
Ah,
And we had a huge tent over the whole thing. But yeah, yeah, this was a challenge, this set, to say the least.
because
The
there's
challenge
stunts in there and making it safe for the actors
making it says but
and
because
camera.
obviously it's alien for most of the sighted members of crew, you know, working in water,
Yeah.
uh, and let alone when, you know, you have to consider Aria. So yeah, so all those walls are rubber.
Mm. Oh, wow.
So,
So you
so
sculpted out of rubber?
yeah, so
Wow.
we bought loads and loads of oysters. They were then mounted and molds were taken. And it meant that there could be an organic nature to any of the fight sequences. And we didn't have to worry about hitting a mark or making sure, you know, there was this section of wall, because that's all. So yeah, huge swathes of this were all made out of rubber.
Wow.
And testament to my painters, because yeah, it's flawless.
Yeah.
And then and then the then having the floor is perforated steel to allow for the water to go up and down, but also to give Aria and it's rubberized. It was rubberized as well, so that Aria had was completely sure of foot. There was no obstacles to her. So once she come down, she has an entrance down a quite a tricky staircase,
Right.
which she more than happy to
I don't
do.
think
I
I
was
have
so
that.
worried
I
that
don't have that.
I would lose the artistry and creativity of the staircase because of practicalities. But Aria was amazing.
Mm.
And then once she stepped off that and into the water, it was completely smooth, rubberized, just to give her as much confidence to feel that she was capable of doing anything in that space.
That's how big was this? How many stages did you have?
We had two stages and the tank. And on one stage we had the house, and on the other stage we had four sets. So uh, it was three, then one came down, and then we built another,
Mm.
and then this was out in the on the exterior tank.
I know what I forgot to put in here was that bar.
Yeah,
I was gonna ask you about that bar. I forgot to put a picture in. It's that was a build, right?
that was a build as well. Yeah.
I mean,
So
so-
so our builds were the hotel fees, the bar, the museum vault,
oh wow.
the bakery, the back room of the bakery,
Hmm.
again where the bombs go off, the cellar with all the where the radio where the radio where they're working on the radio and the bomb ceiling collapses. So that was those, and then the house, and then yeah this,
And then, but then you had like you have
and
all this,
then
and you built this
yes,
bridge, right?
yes, yeah. So
But this is this outside? Or is this inside?
yes, it's out. No, it's outside.
It's
So
outside. Oh
so
wow.
Milo is got this amazing fortified wall all the way around it, and we had uh, every intention of going and shooting as much as we could in San Marlo, but uh, it soon became apparent that it was just not going to happen. San Marlo, it was the height of summer. It's one of the, you know, a huge tourist
Right.
place. You know, everyone. So uh, it became apparent that I would need to build a section of the wall. So this was a facsimile of a section of the wall of San Marlo that we could then do, and we built it, you know, on the back lot in Budapest.
Oh, that's great.
And then what we did was we went to San Malo and we filmed on one of the beaches there. So we could, it was really important for everyone that we actually shot something in San Malo because the book is so,
Right.
yeah.
The
But we only shot the beach and then we found an alternative town for our version of San Malo.
the the location where the buildings are like crumbled and everything. Was
Yes.
that big? Were there buildings there that were like half blown up, or did like or those builds? Like I was like, where did they get
So,
these?
are you talking about in the streets of the town after the bombing raid?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's all construction.
Oh
That's
wow.
all, yeah, we were um, blessed again. We went to a town in south of France. It's called Villefranche-de-Rouergue, and they rolled out the red carpet for us. It's a stunning town, but somehow has not quite made it onto the tourist routes.
Oh,
Um,
let me write that down.
uh, yeah,
Let's hit that. They got a
and
winery?
sorry.
They got a winery?
Oh, I mean, it's a beautiful part of the
Yeah.
world. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful part of France. Um, but it's just, yeah. And so it's unspoiled streets and streets of beautiful old buildings. And they just let me go to town. So obviously we refronted uh, endless businesses, and we put up shutters and we closed businesses or we redressed their shop windows. And so they let me, I mean, that square that we're in is medieval
Yeah.
in Oregon. There's a huge cathedral, stunning cathedral in the square. And yet they let me burn a carousel in the middle of medieval square. Uh, and burn cars and I mean they couldn't have been more helpful.
Well,
uh
that's great.
so
They're
those big piles of rubble,
yeah.
they're all lightweight. They were all made of a frame structure with canvas and
Oh wow.
sculpted rubble on the top, beautifully painted, and then on top we did a wonderful layer of the broken furniture and the
Wow.
people's possessions and all of those things that would then lay. It meant that at any given time, because we had a rolling schedule of road closures. So when we finished, we had to then open roads that then people either pedestrians or indeed traffic could utilize. So yeah, it was like a kit of parts. So I think I had A to F of different shapes, and each configuration was we've got A and B here
Yeah.
and J, and so it was a kit of parts.
It's always whenever you see like war aftermath movies, it's
Yeah,
always like, man, did I always think like now is it just they CG that or like how did they get that? Because I you assume a lot of the times that these
yeah,
buildings have been either torn
yeah,
down or
yeah,
rebuilt. So
yeah.
finding
We, we
things
had
is
obviously we had a CG augmentation, and there are some set extensions. So when you see in the deeper background, completely
right.
collapsed buildings, that's yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That
but everything kind of foreground or midground, most of that is practical.
wow. It's such a big dress. It's such a huge dress. I know it. I know it is.
Yeah.
Um, I I love the blue green here,
Yeah.
and the way that all the wardrobe and the characters just pop off of this blue. Was this exterior in that specific town? Or yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I think that shot's in Villefranche.
Mm,
Yeah. So we found the square where we put again, the hunt for the house took ages to find
really?
the perfect exterior. And we found that beautiful square. Um, and yeah, this was actually a big shop window that we took out.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, and put obviously our set into the archway. Um, the rest of the house was absolutely perfect, but there was a modern sort of shop window and door in this archway.
But you can never find anything perfect. Yeah.
No, exactly. That's kind of the
That's the
fun.
fun. Yeah, that's the fun of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to, we're going to take that window out. We're going to paint that house. We're going to, sign right. And there was a couple of shops that well, it's more than a couple of shops that we did a makeover on
Mm.
in this town that were empty, um, and had been boarded up or they'd been fly posted and things like that. And the mayor actively asked us to leave. So there in this town, there are now remnants of our shoot with
Oh,
some period
that's a
shots.
compliment. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, just yeah. So
Yeah.
we kind of left a little mark and contributed a bit to just lifting the town.
Did you have uh, any sort of huge obstacles in this that we were like, we can't, and then you do. Was there anything like location wise or set wise that you felt like it was almost nearly impossible for us to get this done, and but we did it.
I mean, the grotto was probably there was so many conversations, endless about the scale, how we would approach it, how to get the water moving, and the complications of having the challenges of Aria being able to be comfortable. So that was probably the set that had the most conversations
Mm,
about it. Models, digital models, endless kind of, how do we do this? How do we do that? And then, of course, the challenge, poor Tobias. I'm building a grotto and there are no windows. So,
right.
how did we kind of give Tobias a fighting chance of getting some light in here?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, yeah, not with that. That was probably, but everything else, like my wildest kind of I want to can I burn and set fire to build a carousel and set fire to a carousel in the middle of this town and expecting everyone to just laugh at me and go, he's so ridiculous. And getting the sign off from the town and the mayor. They go, yeah, that's fine. And
Yeah.
of course, I showed Sean a reference image of a carousel on fire and he went, you're going to put that in that scene? I'm going, yes. He said, and they're letting you. And I'm going, yes. So it's testament to great locations team who really went to bat for me whenever there was a challenge, like setting fire to cars in the town or blocking streets. They really got behind the spirit of the show. Um,
Yeah.
and and nothing was too much trouble. So then suddenly, the danger when that happens for a designer is that I keep moving the goalposts and ask for a bit more,
Well,
ask for a
yeah.
bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
that's the track of a good designer. You never go backwards, you keep pushing forwards.
yes. But
Yes.
to be honest, I don't think I ever got that, a hard no where I went, "Oh, really?
Uh,
So, yeah,
oh,
I
that's
think
great.
that's why the show is so special.
Yeah. I think it all shows on screen too of just the sometimes I just feel like you can tell people were into it when they worked. I don't know, there's something
Yeah,
I feel like you can tell when you watch things like this is like a passion project or but it's I mean obviously it's a big
yeah.
project. It's not a passion, indie film or something, but you could see
No,
the love and tenderness put into this
yeah.
and the delicacy of and everything and the sensitivity. It's just but it's beautiful. It's just
But
beautiful.
I also, I mean, I was blessed. I mean, Sean Levy is an exceptional director,
Mm,
but he also uh, placed his faith in me and his trust very early on and allowed me to fly in a way. He didn't, it wasn't one of those religions where, you know, keep pulling you back and pulling back and going, "Meh."
yeah.
He really let me
Oh,
fly.
that's
So
great.
that was, special because, we all experience productions where it doesn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Well, I
yeah,
think too, but when you are a good director, a good designer, a good decorator, and you let
yeah,
your team, you trust your team, and you
yes,
let them do their job, and you
yeah,
let them, and then you don't have to worry about it, and
yes,
they're bringing you, they're
yeah,
all collaborating together.
yeah,
It's really
no, without a
important.
doubt.
Yeah, and good producers let you do that too. I think
Yeah,
they do.
yes,
Um,
yes.
are you working on anything?
I am. I'm
Nice.
doing a 6-part thriller for Netflix.
Oh,
Yes,
that's fun.
set in the UK.
Nice.
Yep,
Oh, well then I'll talk to you.
contemporary.
I'll talk to you
Um,
again.
yes,
Contemporary. Oh,
yes,
nice. Little change.
it's a little shift up, but it's contemporary, but it's yeah, can't give too much away,
But
but
yeah. Well, that's good.
it's still a really interesting design piece.
Is it is it busy over there?
No, it's not at the moment. It's
Yeah.
very quiet everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Still
yeah,
here. Still here too. It's a
it's
little.
just starting to, but it's very small amount that's picking up. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't quite hear an echo, but like little things are here and there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
but
it's
not enough really to sustain the
no,
scale of the industry.
it's very, it's weird, but it's in the back of my head. I still think th- they're always gonna make projects. Like it's just
Yeah,
bizarre
yeah,
to me. We're just in a little slump or something. But I think
yes. I
too
think
with
the bubble got very big,
yeah,
needed to deflate a bit, and I think then it's just finding its new level again, and then this obviously the strikes and everything just everything just had its moment, and now we're just things are all good and resolved, and but it's still finding its new level.
I just finished two Netflix half-hour comedies, and I do like working for Netflix though. Like I love that they put time, like effort and money into like good projects and everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
The one I'm on now will be my third with Netflix. I did a Black Mirror a long time ago.
yeah,
But but yeah, no, yeah, it was I mean, a joy,
yeah.
Um,
I enjoy the streaming world, I must say. So
well,
less clearance issues and more money and
and also a chance to really explore worlds if you're lucky to get the right script and
yeah.
and to explore stories and just longer,
Like this could have
yeah,
been a 2-hour movie. But they
it
took
could
the time to, expand the story and tell the whole book and everything. So,
yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love that there is creativity that they appreciate, I think, and I think it's great. I love the series. I think it's great. I think you did a phenomenal job, and I'm so happy to connect with you. It's been
Oh, that's
been
very
great.
kind of you.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything you've said. I mean, yeah, no, it was one of those special projects
Yeah.
coming together, a great bunch of people. Tobias lit my sets so beautifully.
Yeah.
So,
It,
it was just, yeah, it was just a great collaboration.
well, that's awesome.
So it was, yeah, coming together. It just sometimes, it doesn't quite come together, and but this just, yeah, it was great.
Well, I hope the work is noticed in the
Thank you.
voting system because I everyone I know has seen it. So I
Yeah.
think you got a good chance. But it's beautiful. So thank you so much for
No,
taking this
thank
time
you.
with me because I mean, although I'm a decorator, I still love and appreciate everyone's work and I just love talking about it. I love
I think
talking
that's
about
the
it.
joy of what we do is
Yeah.
that you can still go to the cinema or turn on the television and appreciate good work, and
Yeah. So much good work
that's
out there too. So much there
there
is.
is some very great stuff out there at the moment.
Well, have a good
All right,
dinner.
thank
I
you.
didn't keep you too much.
Okay. No, that was perfect. Thank you very
So,
much.
well, thank you so much. See you soon.
Okay,
Okay,
take care.
you too. Bye bye.
If you have not seen this limited series, it's so good. It's a real cry and a very emotionally fulfilled, I would say, after seeing it. And I love Hugh Laurie, who's in it, who was in Veep, and I just think that that man is just a tremendous actor. That obviously he can pull off anything, but all of the actors in it, just a phenomenal performance, and the sets and the costumes. It's you can tell that a lot of love was put into this project. So Thank you so much to Simon for joining me on this and speaking about it. Just really great. I really wanted to ask him about Iron Lady, because he did that and I didn't have time. It was a bummer, because I'm a fan of that film too. I think he did a tremendous job there too. So, but hey, maybe next time, man. You never know. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup. I told you in the beginning, we have so many great interviews for Emmy consideration, so I hope that you are following along. And don't forget to check out the YouTube page, because everything we talked about here, I do have snippets on the Decorating Pages YouTube page. So if you'd like to follow along, please go over there, hit it, as they say, like and subscribe, and I'm never going to tell you that again. How about that? I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. After completing the renovation, follow up with the customer to ensure their satisfaction and address any remaining concerns. Provide maintenance tips and guidance to help them preserve the results of the renovation for years to come. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.